Good morning and welcome to Rain International's Product Education Series with our very own Dr. Christina Cook, who is our Chief Scientific Officer here at Rain International. Today, she's going to talk to you about some of the specifics of our product ingredients, and we're going to keep these series going for the unforeseeable future as we do have a lot of great product science to discuss and share. The objective of these will be outlined by Dr. Christina Cook, and it is just an honor to have you with us, of course, Christina, as always. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the balance of this presentation to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Christina Cook.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ, so much. I'm really happy to start these educational seminars and discussions. So we have ISNS and RAIN partnering in discussing the seed science and nutrition and what's behind it, and actually how that's impacting our healthcare, our wellness, our prevention, and also helping and impacting our overall healthcare system. So today we are going to talk about one article. So I'm going to go to the first slide and discuss with you guys what we are going to talk about today. And this particular journal review is not one that is one of my favorite journals. It's not one of my favorite articles, but what I love about it and why we're talking about it today is there's 159 references at the back of this article. And so when you look this article up, if you look at the back of it and all those references, today we're going to talk about the article as well as all the references behind it, and also what that means to you guys, what that means to our health, what that means to our bodies when we take certain ingredients. So this article is reviewing black cumin seed, and it's also reviewing thimelquinone in the prevention of cancer through inactivation and activation of molecular pathways. That's what we're talking about today. And let me make that very simple for you guys. All we're saying is, or all this article is saying, because this is not my article, this is another review, it's saying that black cumin seed and TQ, thimelquinone, I'm going to call it TQ for the rest of this so that we can get through the whole presentation. It can actually, it has been shown in multiple research articles to prevent cancer through inactivation and activation of the pathway of cancer. That's what this review is about. And if you look at this, you will see multiple things that point to that and how that is impacting people's bodies if they have those key ingredients and if they're taking them to be in their body so that's able to help their cells. You guys know about our bodies. We've got good cells, we've got bad cells, and they're communicating all the time. Let's talk about how we can put ingredients inside of us that can actually make things happen that are good for our bodies and keep things out that are bad for our bodies and our cells. So this article was in the Evidence-Based Complement Alternative Medicine in 2014. It was published in May. And it has some articles that it has some authors from Saudi Arabia as well as the Middle East. But if you look again at the back of it, it has authors that are anywhere from Harvard to Johns Hopkins to multiple areas internationally that are key opinion leaders that have done incredible things in the area of research in oncology. So let's talk about in the next slide what this means to everyone at Rain International, as well as what this means to ISNS. I want to make sure everyone knows this is an educational review. The statements and claims of products, we're not making those today. We're simply letting everyone know what this article is saying so that you can use it to talk to people about their bodies and what happens when they put ingredients in their bodies like black cumin seed and how that could impact diseases like cancer. It's not an opinion or a statement for sales and marketing of Rain. It's not even my opinion or claim. I'm simply going over what the article says because I'm a PhD scientist and researcher, and I have focused a lot of my career in the areas of oncology, and I want to go over what's happening in your body when you put these ingredients inside of you. It does review past research, abstracts, articles, And again, you've got some heavy players in the back of this article that have been significant in helping in the area of cancer research. This should not be used, again, for sales and marketing. You can use it to educate people and educate peers. If you are a doctor and a scientist or in healthcare and you want to have a peer-to-peer discussion and go over this even more in depth, absolutely, please do. And if you have people you know that are on black cumin seed and you want to explain what's going on when they take it, please use this for educational purposes as well. So let's get into the meat of this article and actually what it is saying to you guys. I love the abstract of an article. I love the conclusion of an article because it basically summarizes what's going on in a review. But I also love diving deep into the article. So we're going to do all of that today. We're going to do it quickly so that you guys have it, and hopefully concisely so you can show others and you can present this to others. We all know that cancer is a dreaded disease. It's a major health problem. It not only causes families and people to die and to have significant areas of stress and concern in their life, it also is something that impacts our society and economy and overall healthcare system. So the best thing that would ever happen is that we don't get cancer, right? This abstract discusses how you can use black cumin seed and TQ to actually prevent cancer, and if you have it, to stop that progression. So I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't read all of this, and I want to make sure I address all of it with you guys. The exact molecular mechanism and development and progression of cancer is not fully understood. However, we've talked about this. We know that viruses, bacteria, environmental factors, toxins, heavy metals, stress, all of those we're exposed to even when we're on our mother's stomach. And then also when we're born, and then for every day. So we do know as scientists and doctors and researchers that all of those can impact your body and can start the progression of diseases like cancer because it starts a cascade, an event in your body where there's signaling going on and the cells change, right? We know that. But what we don't know is exactly how we can completely turn that off and how that'll never happen. We do know there's things that you can do to prevent or hopefully cause it not to happen, and that's what this article discusses. It also discusses that the current therapies right now with a healthcare system are typically chemotherapy and radiation, right? And what do we think about that? We think that it can cure or help a disease, right? Like cancer. But we also know it has very bad adverse effects a lot of times, and it can actually alter your gene function. And what that means is that it can actually cause the genes and your cells to not function appropriately or alter so that they're doing actually negative things instead of positive things in your body. Because when you set chemotherapy and radiation off, it's a bomb. And so what we want to do is we want to impact things so hopefully that bomb is not going off. And the abstract talks about that if you use natural products, and it references these products at the back of the article, and one of them is the black cumin seed, you can have a safer, effective, and less expensive way of treating types of cancer. And that's what this review is about, because that's what the article is about. Previous studies show that black cumin seed is a good therapeutic option for cancer treatments during the treatment, after the treatment, or before. Again, this is not my statement. This is what this article is referencing and what it's talking about. Earlier studies also show that black cumin seed and TQ have an important role, again, in the prevention and the treatment of cancer. The article discusses why, and this is what it says. The reason that it is important and it has a role is because it can cause the activation of good signaling with the body so that the good genes are expressed, and it can also stop it can deactivate the pathway that is causing the inflammatory event that causes cancer. That is the meat of this article. That is what it's talking about. It summarizes the research as it pertains to black cumin seed and TQ in this activation. And again, let me tell you guys what's happening. Everyone's talking in your body, right? Like we're talking right now, we're going back and forth, but you want the signaling in your body to be the good cells talking and not the bad cells. And I can tell you we've all been impacted by cancer, including me. And it means a lot that I know that when I'm taking a product and an ingredient like black cumin seed and TQ, that it's affecting me in a positive way, and I am fighting a battle inside my body. I'm not inside there, so I'm sending things in there to fight the battle for me, right? I'm not the army. I am basically the general or the president of my body. I'm sending things good inside to fight that war, and that's what's happening per this abstract when you're taking an ingredient like black cumin seed that has a characteristic like TQ that's doing that inside your body. So let's get more into that because it's kind of exciting stuff. So let's go on and talk about really what the article is referencing as far as introducing to us what is occurring. And let's talk about other research articles that you guys can pull so that you have even more ammunition so you understand what to do with your bodies. So cancer development is considered to be due in some part, again, by the genetic and epigenetics. We already discussed that. Most chemotherapy is mono-targeted, and what I mean by that is when it's mono-targeted, it's going in, it's targeting one area or one way of killing the molecule or bad cells. Unfortunately, sometimes this kills a lot of good cells because there's not a balance of activation and inactivation, whereas with some molecules that are in plants, there are two. There's an activation and inactivation, and one of those is black cumin seed because it has TQ. So it's able to not just kill a bad cell that might have cancer, per the review article and per the scientists that have researched this, it's also able to stop that from ever occurring and to have a healthy body system, which unfortunately right now, the chemotherapy and radiation that's targeted is not going in there to prevent or to make the healthy cells healthier, right? So that's why this is such a great ability to be able to send a product like this inside of our bodies. I referenced two articles for you guys to look up that I think are important. One is about cervical carcinoma, and it pertains to the Indian population, and because the Indian population has a lot of cervical carcinoma for some reason. So it's from the Pathology and Oncology Research Journal, very reputable journal, and it talks about how you can use certain products like black cumin seed and TQ that will actually help with the cervical carcinoma and can actually assist with it hopefully never occurring. So I would like for you guys to look up that article. Again, we can send you that information if you would like that as well. The second article that I referenced is a mini critical review from the International Journal of Molecular Epidemiology and Genetics, another great research article. It talks about urinary bladder cancer, you guys, and how you can use products like black cumin seed and TQ to assist or stop the progression of urinary bladder cancer. And that article references the fact that it helps with the pathways and the therapeutic environment inside your body in a multi-targeted approach. Great article to read. The second thing I really want to talk to you guys about is the number of articles that show the diets that are rich in fruits, vegetables, cereal grains, and spices decrease the risk of cancer growth and METs, which is mastitis. Let me explain that. Let's say I have breast cancer. If I got breast cancer, it would be isolated and usually the duct or around the breast. However, you guys have probably heard of stage 3 or stage 4 cancer advanced, right? What that means is it's metastatic. They found it in your breast. They also found it in your lymph nodes or throughout your body. And what they're saying is it's growing. It's pathological. It's everywhere. All the signaling is signaling at each other everywhere. It's not isolated. It's not in one neighborhood. Guess what just happened? There's a war, and the war has spread throughout the country. It's everywhere. What do we got to do? We got to stop it, right? How do we do that? Well, what we know is that there's certain plants that are able to go in and certain ingredients in those plants and characteristics that can stop that. And that's what this article talks about. It's very, very important when you look at the article, Natural Products for Cancer Prevention, a Global Perspective. It's from Pharmacology and Therapeutics. Another great article. That's what it's telling you guys. So pull the article, read it. You'll see how you can use things like black cumin seed that will actually assist with that progression and that signaling, because it's very important that you stop metastatic cancer. Another one I've had so many questions about head and neck cancer. So I put a really great article from the International Journal of Cancer. It talks about head and neck cancer and the risk in the United States, because we have a huge risk in the United States for some reason. They're not exactly sure why. They think because it's probably the amount of tobacco use, et cetera, and toxins in the environment. This talks about the natural products and how to prevent it, and it actually goes into a mini review of what they have found and how it can stop that from occurring. So very, very important for you guys to read. It's a cohort study. I can get into more details later, but for the purpose of this, I just wanted to include this article. Let's go into even more of the science and the research behind the black cumin seed. Let's review some of the findings that this article presented. Again, we know that black cumin seed has a chief component called TQ. And we know that there are multiple articles that show therapeutic role in disease control through cancer through TQ. But what are those articles, right? What are you referencing, Christina? Well, there's articles that show pancreatic, osteosarcoma, bladder, breast, colon, skin, and lung, and other types of cancers and diseases. If you look at the back of the article that I have, I want you to know that you can see in 37 through 44 on the references, if you look at the numbers, all of those articles talk about how TQ and black cumin seed can control these types of cancer. Also, if you look at the review of this article, you'll see that TQ induces cancer cell and cancer tumor apoptosis per the findings. And also in numerous diseases, it's thought to be able to basically fight stress. We all know we downplay stress. We can't downplay stress. Stress is a factor and it's a component of life. It's not going to go away. I have 4 children. I work. Each of us have stress. We each have our own story, and it's an equally important story. We know how important stress is to our bodies, to keep it out or to fight it, right? So one of the things we know is that we have got to figure out how we can look at how that's impacting us and how it can relate to different things and how we can stop it. TQ is known to actually fight that stress. And if you look at Article 55 through 56 in the back of this, it will show how this TQ can go in and can stop the apoptosis of the good cells, but trigger the apoptosis of cancer cells. And it shows references for colon cancer and also shows in human beings and animal models. It's very important to read that. Another thing is the necrosis. We talked about that earlier. I don't know if you guys caught what I said, but we know that necrosis of a cell is when that healthy cell is basically gradually dying or aging, right? And that causes numerous diseases. We know that that can cause acute cellular dysfunction. We know that it can be overexposure to toxins can make that necrosis happen. So we want to deter necrosis. Another reason I want to deter necrosis is it's one of the things that why we show age, right? So it's really important to stop that. And we know that TQ, because of the P53 pathway, has been shown that it can help with that. And it also can help because we know, again, going back to this, it helps with stress and toxins. If you look at 69 through 75, it's going to talk about in those articles in the back of this journal, it will talk, or this article, sorry, if you look at the references, it will show how this will impact the healthy cells in a good way, and it'll stop the necrosis from occurring in those cells. Another thing is COX-2. COX-2 is really important. If you look at pain, and if you look at all the different pain medication that's out there, it's actually impacting the COX-2 inhibitors, and it's stopping it. But again, some of these products that we take are not positive in other ways. They can hurt us. Whereas when you look at black cumin seed, again, going back to the abstract, it's a safe, effective way to put something into our body that's a multi-targeted approach. Yes, it's going to stop like pain with COX-2 and maybe even hopefully stop the prevention of tumors, which is what Article 85 through 93 in the back of this reference will show you. But also, what I'm not saying on this slide that you guys need to know is that's the pathway that impacts pain. So not only is it able to impact the prevention of tumors per what research is showing us, but it also impacts pain in our bodies if we're using black cumin seed. So let's talk about this even a little bit more. If you look at the articles of black cumin seed and TQ, and you look at how they play a role in the cancer development and progression, you need to understand how it inhibits it and how it stops these antigens from impacting our body. So if you look at articles 76 through 84, what it talks about is how black cumin seed and TQ can stop the development and the progression. So again, if something's metastatic, we want to stop it. If we've got cancer, we don't want it going throughout our body. How do we do that? Well, there's articles that show that TQ and black cumin seed can impact that and stop that. And that's article 76 through 84. You can see multiple references around that. It discusses cancer. It also discusses other diseases, just so you guys know. Another thing that I wanted you guys to look at was NFKB and MMP. And what that is it's basically the pathways that downregulate the pancreatic cells and that can cause or it can impact cancer. These are really important pathways that you really need to regulate. And what we know is that black cumin seed and TQ, from the reviews and from the research in vivo and in vitro, can actually impact those pathways and stop the progression or even stop this from occurring in bladder cancer and stop that inflammatory event. And yes, again, it can stop the pain that's happening in association with any type of organ development when it comes to regulation and deregulation. And we can talk about that more in another session, but I do want you guys to know that it is impacting the inflammation and the pain, as well as the research is showing it can stop the progression or even stop the ability for cancer to develop in your body. So also, I talk a little bit about here what I found in the article with the research that shows the receptors and the positive effect on prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is something that affects a lot of us. It can be a silent and deadly killer. And I wanted to show some of the articles. So 108 through 116 talks about TQ and the numerous research of how it affects in a positive way prostate cancer. Article 129 through 130 shows basically the activation and inactivation of CYP450 pathways and the phase 1 and phase 2 genes. When you work on human monoclonal antibodies, you understand these pathways. You understand the importance of it. You understand that if you activate it in the right way, that you can have great results. If you inactivate certain pathways, then you can have even better results. There's a way to regulate and deregulate in that area. And what we know is that TQ is able to play a vital role in basically controlling the panel. So think about it this way. This product's able to go in and see where's the issue and what should we do? Where do we need to get rid of things? And it's also able to go into the body and say, okay, where do we need to keep things the same and make them even healthier? That's why I said it's a multi-targeted approach that this research article reviews. So it's really important. So the next slide, we're going to talk about how, yes, all of that is very important, but what are the additional benefits of TQ? And if you look at the bottom of this resource, I listed some NIH and PubMed articles that talk about not just cancer with black cumin seed in the products, but also touched upon what this article review is talking about in other areas. I wanted to make sure that I address the fact that it has been known to be basically medicinal also for neural pathways and not just diseases that are impacting the cells dying, but also in the neurotransmission of the brain and in the stomach, because your GI is very important, as well as your brain as far as panels and controlling what's going on. So we know that TQ is almost a pharmaceutical grade product in a lot of different countries and a lot of different articles because of the way it impacts Alzheimer's, autism, dementia, neurodegenerative diseases, schizophrenia, Parkinson's. There's lots of benefits, lots of articles that show that TQ and black cumin seed are very impactful and how they impact your neurological and not just the disease progression. And I wanted to make sure I touched upon that because I've had lots of different questions about the black cumin seed and how it impacts diseases like multiple sclerosis, cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, and you can see from this article that it stops the progression of diseases like that. But I also want to address the fact that it is impacting the brain and what's occurring in the brain and the paneling, and it's just an overall product that's going in. And from a scientific perspective, it's approaching your body and talking to your body. You know, we all can get a prescription for something, and we all do. I mean, we go to doctors, and we should. It's something that we need to be healthy, but we also need to take it upon ourselves to understand what's going on and what we're putting in our body and how that impacts us. And so hopefully this has given you guys some information so you can see that. And so let's go on to the next slide. I've included in the next couple of slides, and I think that Russ and Rain are going to be able to put this somewhere so that you guys can see it, as well as the journal article, which I sent to Rain, and I also sent to ISNS since we're partnering in these educational journals. I included other different ingredients that I have been researching in different products and the impact. So the next slides that you'll see and the remainder of the slides are really different resources that you guys can have as it pertains to different ingredients and things. I think it's very important that you know what you're putting into your body. I think it's very important that you can educate yourself and others on what the research and what the scientists are saying. And again, this article, I'm going to show it really quick because I have it in front of me, that you guys have been given is also something that let's see if I can show another, that has supplementary materials. If you'll look at this, and again, we're going to post all these resources. There's numerous articles beyond this and research references that support black cumin seed and TQ and how it impacts the body. We're going to continue to discuss this because I think it's important. It's equally important that you guys know that, yes, it's very important to have proper health care and doctors and the right specialists, but please understand that it's very important that you can understand what's going on in your body. I just simply focused on science behind products and research during most of my career. However, you guys have the ability to learn just as much or more than me to impact just as many people or more than I can. So I'm very excited that we are on this journey where we are going to be educated on ingredients and on the characteristics of ingredients so that we can have better health care and we can actually know what's going on in our bodies during the day instead of sitting here and wondering what's going on. I think you guys get a glimpse on what you're doing to impact yourselves on a daily basis by what you put inside of you. So thank you so much for your time. I look forward to the next session where we can talk even more about other journal articles. Russ?
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Cook, for teaching us again some of that specific science on black cumin and those benefits that are there. Everyone, we appreciate your attendance and being here today. We thank again Dr. Cook for her effort, her dedication to teaching and educating everybody about how our health can be impacted positively through some of the science that she has been researching. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic and wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.